Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are tuning in from. This is a BS Buddies podcast. I'm Joe, that's Ian. This is a podcast where we discuss random things and BS about them. Like when we made a restaurant that was absolutely awful. We talked about bringing stuff from the future to the past. It's a lot of fun. If you have any suggestions on topics that are just, I don't know, make zero sense, we'll talk about it. Ian, how are you doing?
I am doing good, and since you brought up the assembly line, the restaurant that we designed, I can't help but think of Henry Horde, who stands menacingly over your table while he spouts World War II facts and occasionally tells you that your burger would not pass quality inspection. And now that image is sitting in my mind as we go into this, and I'm not going to be able to think about anything else now.
I will try to remember to stamp it on the top of your screen right now. If you want to go check it out, it's one of the, to me, it's one of the best ones we've done just because it was so hilarious. But today, we are going to talk about what more for me, and Ian will chime in if he has any experiences. A really bad landlord that I had before I moved here to Wisconsin. And I don't think I told you about it at all, so.
Oh, probably. Well, because, we all know that landlords are clearly the best people ever and would never attempt to screw their tenants out of anything.
Sorry for the cut. We had an interruption. But I will just start with the whole landlord situation I had. So this was up when I lived in the FM area before I moved to Wisconsin. And it was the year 2020. I believe when I moved into this place. Yeah. I just had to make sure it was 2020. I didn't even know if I could move into this place to begin with because I heard a rumor that you couldn't move during COVID. And this was like at peak. But hey, they let me do it, thank God.
Nobody knew what was true or what was false at that point. It was just like, can't move? Well, I don't believe it, but to be honest, I don't have any reason not to. So I guess we'll see. Let's flip this coin. Roll that dice, baby. I'm here for the fun.
For me, I did have a reason. So at the time, I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time, and so I wanted a one bed, like just fresh start. Let's start from ground up again. And I had a couple friends from work that said, hey, like, this place is really cheap. It's not pretty, but it's cheap. And they have one bedrooms. And, I mean, I was a single guy at the time. I had zero expectations.
No need for all that fancy stuff like living space and luxury and decoration. As long as I got a bed, a fridge, and a microwave, I'm set, baby.
Don't worry. This had decoration. It had floral wallpaper from the 60s in the kitchen.
Yeah,
but
that's good stuff.
But it gets better. The reason why I picked this apartment in particular, I had a few options, but one of them, it was from the 60s. I had a pink countertop, a pink tub, and a pink toilet. Like the laminate, like old style, like 50s, everything colored.
There was pink countertop, pink tub, and a pink toilet, and you had floral wallpapers.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you one question.
Yes, please.
And you don't have to answer it at all. We can just move right on, because those who will know will know. Did this apartment building at any point in time used to be a motel?
I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like it was. Because there were two beds and one bed. And yeah.
All right. We'll just call that a great answer and we'll move on and pretend that question didn't exist.
I don't think it was. That's a solid question. So I got to say this first. When I was being toured by the guy, he's like, I gotta tell you something about this room, and this same layout, but it was like a blue bathroom, blue everything. He's like, across the hall is a guy named Dave. Dave has schizophrenia. Sometimes you may hear him scream, but other than that, he's very quiet. Just want to point that out. I'm like, oh. And I was getting back into doing YouTube on my main channel. So I'm like, that sounds like content, but something I don't want to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
That is, it's like, okay, forgive me, right? Poor Dave. I'm sure his life has been afflicted by this in ways that I can't possibly imagine. But there are no amount of words that could ever adequately prepare you or describe the situation and for which I imagine you'd be sitting there, like just 10 o'clock at night. You're just watching some TV. You're like, oh, it's been a long day. And then you just hear this muffled from the next door over, and you're going, should I be worried about that? Do I need to call somebody? I just the whole scenario in my mind is giving me this very like, what the fuck do I do? I was not ready for this.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. When I was shown the apartment I went with, this wasn't a great part of town, as you can tell from the description.
Actually, it sounds like this is the perfect part of town. Continue.
The guy who showed me, and he was actually the friend of the friend who told me about this place. He was the kind of the maintenance guy in the building. Super cool, laid back. Too laid back, I will say, but he's like, yeah, sometimes I just like chill in this room and like there's some drug addicts across the street and I just see what they do. Sometimes I find needles in the grass. It's just
Oh God! This is oh man, crackheads
you
live 24/7. Welcome to the station, folks.
it's funny like talking about this and people, I don't want to get too serious, but like people are like, oh, like you don't have enough life experience. I lived in an apartment who had someone with schizophrenia that I could sometimes hear coming in the door.
You had a maintenance dude who used to watch crackheads for fun. Can you imagine that you open the door and you see what you think is a TV and you're like, oh, hey, man, what are you doing? Playing some Call of Duty? Some Black Ops Zombies? It's pretty sweet, man. No, I'm watching the local crackheads across the street. Just like they're in the distance, like, oh, God.
I could go delve into more of that, but like I want to get to the landlord part. As you can tell, this wasn't a great.
You painted a fantastic picture already. I just want you to know that the setup. Oh, I can almost smell the must from the walls.
So, here's the bad landlord part. What we're getting into. I eventually moved in with my now fiance, and we moved into a 2-bed just because it was so cheap. So cheap. We made it work. There was no AC in this building. So it was, summers were just miserable. Bought a portable AC just to counteract it. And half the time we had her kiddo with us, and I mean we do now, but just for context, and she was 3 at the time. If you guys don't know too much about it, like there's like the metal transition pieces that like go from carpet to tile or whatever. We had one of those for the hallway to the bathroom, but like some of like the staples were sticking up, and from time to time we would step on it.
The stripping in between where 2 different floors joint up, and you guys had the little finish nails poking up. Gotcha.
Stepped on that a few times.
Ooh, that's tetanus in a handbasket.
And then we had, we didn't have hot water through our faucet for the tub. So what we would have to do is take warm water, fill up a 5-gallon bucket in the kitchen. So the kiddo, or I think it was this. The water was either cold or scorching, like burning hot. And having a kiddo there trying to give bath, it's like,
that's difficult.
Yes.
That's
And we brought it up multiple times. It took 2 months for someone, and the maintenance guy who like showed me the place eventually fixed it, but he never got a work order. He didn't even hear about it. He's like, yeah, I would have fixed it right away if I would have known.
oh my god.
Like
Well, that is the very first very big red flag.
I I want you guys to know the maintenance guy was super cool. Like I could go to him and talk to him. He was chill. He was all right in the head. I want to say that. Like it's not like
Fully
he was
there.
a freak. Debbie ended up moving out for a short time. And so I had a buddy move in with me. And this will make sense for context. So we lived together, and then once Debbie and I were getting ready to move to Wisconsin, like we worked with the property manager, which the maintenance dude was, and then he got in a fight with a tenant. So then they had to switch, and then they got rid of her, replaced her with someone else, and within a month the other woman was back. So it went from dude, lady, different lady, back to the same lady.
Boy, they got a great turnover rate at this place.
So, and like she was very chill and she helped us with a lot. And I asked what the process was for moving out. She told me what it was. I'm like, okay, we gave a written notice. And this was, I gave the written notice towards the beginning of May. Towards the beginning, not the very beginning. This is important. We moved out end of July, early August. Moved to Wisconsin. Usually you hear like you get your deposit back, right? Like within a month.
Something like that.
We called them in November and said, "Hey, you guys haven't given us our deposit." And they're like, "Oh, okay. We'll take a look for it." Didn't hear anything back. Called them back the next week. "Hey, we called about the deposit. Like, where is it?" And then they're like, "Oh, we'll send it in the mail." And it's like, okay, sweet. And we just came back home from Christmas so we were supposed to get $1,000 back because we had a pet deposit and rent. They were charging us $500 for damages.
Damages? For what?
Exactly. So I called the lady and like we were struggling enough financially as it was, like just getting hit with the $500 bill. Like my parents were telling me just pay it, forget it. And like Debbie was saying no, like we can fight it, and I was just super down about it. And I went up to a random person at work and cuz he saw that I was not doing so hot. And I think I went up to him and asked like, "Hey, I'm in this situation. Can work help me?" And he's like, "I'm currently suing someone myself, and I used to work at a college bar where this happened to people all the time. Come over, and I'll help you write a letter." So,
look at there.
So I called one of the office ladies, and she basically said, "Yeah, you guys owe because of all the damages. We had to repaint, we had to do all this, but we went through with the property manager and were checked off, said okay." So what they were getting on us about is I didn't give a 60-day notice. I gave like a 50-day notice of the move out.
God,
yes.
They love to be petty about that.
So they said I broke the lease because of that. And I'll spare a lot of details because it was a super stressful situation and we were dealing with it for a month after. So I was working with my buddy who helped out tremendously. And as I was explaining it, because I was just telling him bits and pieces throughout work, but we sat down for 3 hours and I told him every little thing. And he's like, "Wait, Like, they owe you so much money because of everything they did. I looked up Minnesota because we were living in Minnesota. That's where this
Yeah.
place was.
Right.
Minnesota law on renting. And this
Oh,
letter, which I still have a copy, I'll have to read it to you, Ian.
yeah.
I put Minnesota law in the letter. I'm like, you broke this law, and this law.
Minnesota statutes. Yep, you
Yes,
hit him with
I
the
I
statutes.
hit them with Minnesota statutes, this, and this. For 3 months, I had the statutes memorized
My
because
boy.
of this.
My boy.
So, and I, I'll explain in a second. But I sent them a letter. They sent back. It looked like they were just like cleaning out the closet, like not to like help us, but like here's some random papers. And you could tell that one of the like they gave us like a walk-in sheet from my friends who moved in before me. And we were hoping and praying that they put a social security number on that so then we could really screw them. But they didn't,
Mm,
unfortunately.
ah, so close.
That that's what we were really hoping for. And it's funny because they sent like what they had to pay and what they were charging us. They were charging us like $25 for smoke detector batteries, but in the sheet they sent us, they charged my friends before like $3. So right there, I'm like, hey, you're overcharging us for this.
There's a
Um,
disparity.
so then I went the next step further, and again, I'll explain like the terminology and what I did to get this, but I sent it to the head of like the company. I said, hey,
Are
this
you
need
aware
you
that
need
one of your conglomerates, that one of your like branches of this place is doing this nonsense?
I sent it straight to her, pretty much the same exact wording, a little bit different. I did start out with, we brought this up and were ignored. This is what's going on. And then within 3 days, we got our full deposit back.
Oh
Um,
boy, there were some heads rolling that day, metaphorically, but there was some. I can just imagine. I can just imagine the ass chewing that was probably given to some people who really needed it.
so what they broke was the number one thing we got them on is there is a Minnesota statute. If you're renting in Minnesota, remember this. They have 3 weeks to give you your deposit back once you move out. We were at 4 months. Also, if there's damages, they have to have proof of damages, which they
Hmm.
just told us what the damages were. I can't remember the other one, the other statute, but those are the two statutes that they broke. In the lease, the 60-day addendum that they were getting us on.
Fussy about.
They said we broke the number one, which is 60 days. The very last one on there, they broke,
Yeah.
which says we will provide pictures of damages,
We will provide pictures of damages. You
which
didn't
they didn't
provide
do.
me. You didn't provide me shit. You just gave me word of mouth.
So, yeah, on the 60-day, they said we will provide pictures of damages. So they broke their own addendum, but tried to hit us with breaking the addendum, which I stated in said letter, along with 3 Minnesota statutes. And I found out, oh, this was the third statute, that if they did not pay and we took them to court, we needed $1,000 back. We could technically have gone after them for 2,500 if the court saw it fit.
Yeah, you get a little bit extra back for your trouble of having to go through all of that. So, it's not often companies, places that love to screw people over, love to tie you up in all kinds of loopholes, and they make it seem like it's such a process, such a hassle. They make you feel like you can't do anything about what they're charging you for unless you get the statutes on your side. It's not often it happens, but every now and again you can look up some laws and you can be like, "Oh, what do you know? Got some handy information in my back pocket."
I think we called like an attorney to figure out what our rights were. They're like, oh, like I don't know if this helps your case, but like look through this statute and figure out what you can determine. And the buddy who helped me couldn't. He didn't know Minnesota law because we're in Wisconsin, but he's like, there should be something because Wisconsin has something similar. But yeah, for the most part, like just asked around to figure out. And if you're going through something like this, like ask someone. All I did was ask the nearest person to me, and they gave me like a straight path on how to do it. And like if an apartment is screwing you over in any way, you can figure it out. There were within the span of this month, I wanted to give up like 5 times and just pay it because it wasn't worth the stress. But in the end, get all the money back and didn't have to pay. And yeah, I guess that's the moral of the story.
Is fight it when you can. If you have a good case against things like that, I would definitely recommend fighting it because they make it seem like it's such a hassle, but like I said, in reality, you got some handy information that you can pull out and smack them with and be like, actually, boom, right there. Then it usually makes it an open and shut case, and more times than not, they're willing to settle outside of court because they don't want to have to go through court and go through the whole process of doing all of that. So, I was going to ask you, did they ever provide you with a certificate of rent paid for your taxes?
I don't think they did, but at that point, I didn't really care.
Fair enough. I just wanted to put this out there because some people didn't know. I didn't know when I first started renting is that Minnesota is one of those states that has renter's credit or certificate of rent paid, where essentially you receive a slip from the property that you are renting, or the property owners, I should say, and that has a total of how much rent you paid over the course of the year, and you can use that in your taxes when determining to get a refund because that's money that you spent on housing and all of that. So
they also
I'm not sure what the legal stipulation is on it, but something in the statutes somewhere, I'm sure.
They also do that in Wisconsin so far. Like all you got to do if you don't live in Minnesota or Wisconsin, you can just text your landlord or email, contact them in any way, however they want to do it, and just ask like, "Hey, do I get a rent certificate?" Or like Ian said, certificate of rent paid for last year. I know they gave me one for the first full year, but then moving out, like I said, it was so stressful. I didn't want to go to them for that. I think they asked me when I did my taxes. I'm like, I almost got in a legal battle with them. I figured I got my deposit back. We'll call that good for now.
We'll call that a win and move on.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Boy, I can't say that I've had any kind of experience close to that. I mean, the landlord that I had in the previous residence where I was at, it was, I mean, there were ups and downs. There were times when it was frustrating, but I don't think I ever had anything as bad as to compare to that. So I think you'd kind of take the cake on this one anyway.
I had a feeling I would.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It was also like right before that is when like we started talking about possibly doing the podcast, and it just kind of fell through. And then I'm like, damn, podcast didn't work out. And then it's like, oh, here, deal with the FM area some more. And I'm like, great.
Deal with people up there. What do you want? Oh my God. Hello,
Bubbers.
Everybody. Mr. Chubbs has come back and he has words to speak with everyone. Bubbers. What do you want, Bubbers? What? Bubbers, is that how you feel? Tell us more. Tell everyone on the internet how you actually feel. Oh, now he's walking away. Now he came flying down the stairs at like 100 miles an hour, parked himself at the foot of the couch, and now he won't shut up.
He just tried to do his quote for the episode, which we're doing right now. Unless you got more to add.
No, and apparently Bubbers doesn't either, because now he just did a burnout going up the stairs at 100 miles an hour. I don't know what has gotten into that cat. Apparently talking about bad landlords gets him all kinds of fired up, and well, I don't know if I can blame him, but I don't feel like the rest of that was necessary.
He's like, I'm living with a couple bad landlords right now.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten
like,
treats in 2 hours.
These landlords, I can see the bottom of my dish. The rest of the bowl is full. That is not the point. I will starve. As a side note, we got him one of them slow feeders because he kept throwing up all over the place. Hello, everyone. This video is getting hijacked by Bubbers again. And now he will eat like the top layer of food that he can easily reach without having to get down in between all the lines. And then once he eats that, he throws the world's biggest fit trying to get more food put into his bowl because he doesn't want to have to struggle to get the food out of the corners. It's not even corners. It's a round dish. It's a round dish. It is a dish for a small dog, so I know he can easily eat around it. He's a cat, but he just and then so like I said, the reason we got him this bowl is because he kept throwing up all over the house. And we had to go this past weekend. We went down for our anniversary to the Mall of America, and we stayed there overnight. And so we were gone for we left on we left on Thursday night to go stay overnight at my girlfriend's grandparents' house, and then we left from there because it was a little bit closer for the drive. And so we were gone all of Friday and then came back Saturday. So he was gone from Thursday night to Saturday afternoon-ish, roughly. And we walk through the door, and the very first thing we see in the kitchen is a big old pile of yak because we had put out his old food dish and filled that with food as well so that he would have enough over the course of the next day and a half. And the little moron, completely forgetting the last 100,000 times it's happened, chowed down as fast as he could and threw up in the middle of the kitchen. This cat never learns.
Yeah, my cat will sometimes get to the bottom of the bowl like Bubbers and just look at me like, meow. It's like, yes, it's still there. And he's like, oh, yeah, I see it now.
Oh, yeah, you right, homie. You right. I got it. Hey, thanks, man. Hey, you my homeboy. There's more down there.
Okay, but time
All
for
right.
quotes.
Time for quotes.
I'll do my dumb one. I have no idea what this is from. Maybe a show. It's so stupid. It's stupid unless there's context that I don't know about. Insane means fewer cameras. Allie Carter, only the good spy young. Whatever that means.
Insane means fewer cameras? What?
Yes. That's the quote. Please provide
Insane.
context if you know. I feel like it's from a book.
I'm really trying to piece together in what context that would fit. And I'm coming up with nothing. I'll tell you that right now. But that's okay.
There's an exclamation point at the end, so I assume that it somehow makes sense. Like, if it is a spy, it's like, oh, like, I'm a spy. I'm gonna use as many cameras as I need. I don't know. If you know, please comment, because I sure don't.
Educate us, because heaven knows we need it. You know, man, this makes me feel bad about mine now, because mine is it's from Bill Watterson. For anyone who's not aware, is the creator of the Calvin and Hobbes comics, which fantastic. Sorry. Did you ever wonder if the person in the puddle is real and you're just a reflection of him?
I don't like that.
Oh, alternate realities. Ooh, you're losing your mind. Ooh.
Well, that's the episode. Sorry for all the interruptions. I'm in kind of a new living situation. That's kind of why I brought up this topic. And
How
trying
many
to
interruptions did we have?
a
You can edit
lot.
in the number there. You can edit in the number
I'm
there
not
later.
going to. It
Holy,
was this
oh,
many.
holy mackerel, Batman! That's a lot of interruptions.
So hopefully we can figure it out for the next episodes and go from there. But thank you for BSing with us. Subscribe or follow to become a bud today and do some BSing with us. And we'll see you next time when I put a muzzle on my roommate's dog.
And maybe Butters has run out of gas and quits running around the house.
That too.
But until next time, you just take her easy.